All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back to the channel. Kind of a quick video today. I don't think this is gonna stretch out to 25 minutes, but I've said that before, and then just kind of happens. But we're gonna talk about Dana White's Mount Rushmore comments, who would go on his UFC Mount Rushmore. Then we're going to talk about Amanda Nunes, when she became the GOAT, because in this case, I really just wanna share an experience you can have for yourself if you did not see this fight or don't know enough about this fight to have experienced it correctly. And then I'm going to send you off into YouTube land to experience it yourself, because when she became the GOAT was a very fast fight, which was unbelievable and awesome. And so maybe people who, lacked context at the time, I can give it to you and then you can go back and experience yourself. So if you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel and ring the bell. I'm doing this stuff for you. This is genuinely for you, right? I have no ulterior motive. I just want you guys to experience it like I did. Okay, but either way, how about you like the video right now? So, the algorithm will send it off. I would very much appreciate that. I post every day. Right now, my brain hurts. Like, it's not a joke. My brain hurts right now. I'm struggling. But I'm going to do this video anyway because I told you guys I would post every day, and so I will. Anyway, so here we go. So Dana White's Mount Rushmore consists of Royce Gracie, Chuck Liddell, John Jones, Amanda Nunes. I agree with most of them, and then there's one that is laughable, okay? So I'm sure that you guys can probably guess where we're going here, but I'm just going to go through them anyway, okay? Royce Gracie, number one, obviously should be on Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore is a historical monument. It is about the genesis of the United States. And so, conversely, or comparatively, the UFC Mount Rushmore should be about the history of this company and this sport in general. So Royce Gracie being the very first champion, very dominant. People couldn't even figure out how he was winning. He looked like Daniel LaRusso in his gi, and people were like, is he gonna do a crane kick? Is he gonna start punching or kicking? And then all of a sudden, he was on the ground, and you're like, I don't get it. Is he winning? Is he losing? What is happening? Oh my God, he won. He won. He won. He won. I don't know what happened. He won. I have no idea. He looked like he swallowed him in his gi. I literally have no idea how he won. Did that guy, he tapped out that huge guy? That huge buff guy, he tapped him out. What did he do? It's like a magic trick, right? And I love that they put Royce in there because he was like 160 pounds. That was intentional, right? Like they've talked about that like because this was their coming out party with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It was like, that this is the best martial art. If you're gonna come in with karate, good luck. If I get a hold of your arm, you're done. Which is exactly why police in the United States need to be trained in jiu-jitsu so that people can't shake loose, okay? Start an altercation with a guy with his arm behind his back against a jiu-jitsu practitioner. Good luck getting a hold of his taser, right? So, anywho, that makes perfect sense for Royce Gracie to be on Mount Rushmore. Next one is Chuck Liddell. Perfect choice, right? So you think of the UFC, and I think of it in four stages, actually. 4 stages. So there is UFC old school, right? Then there is UFC Zuffa, but before Ultimate Fighter. So Ken Shamrock versus Tito, that age. Then there is Ultimate Fighter, like immediate post Ultimate Fighter. And then there is modern age, okay? Those are the 4 ages that I think of when I think of UFC, right? Like my fandom is broken up like that. And Chuck Liddell, for sure, you go into the Ultimate Fighter and into that next phase, that's all Chuck, right? Like that, the genesis of that was Ultimate Fighter finale. Everybody goes, this sport's crazy. And then it's like who are the movers and shakers? And like almost immediately it was Chuck versus Randy 2. And Randy had beat the shit out of Chuck in the first fight. Beat the shit out of him. And so I was expecting the same. And then Chuck had that knockout where Randy came balling in, and Randy came through that overhand, and Chuck slipped out of the way, and then he paused and waited just for 1 second, the most perfectly timed counter ever, because it was so obvious that he did it intentionally. He just stopped for a second, and as Randy turned, just BAM! And put him to the ground. KO. And that's a beautiful, beautiful knockout. Go watch Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture 2 knockout. Amazing. Like no luck to it whatsoever. Absolutely timing, surgical accuracy, all of it completely intentional. And then so Chuck Liddell was the man. He was the man back then. So that makes perfect sense for him to be there. Amanda Nunes is obviously the most dominant female fighter. I actually initially, when I saw that, was like, oh yeah, of course, she's the GOAT for females. She's the most dominant champion in 2 divisions at the same time ever. There's actually never been anyone who has been consistently defending both belts. So yeah, I mean, that in and of itself, she could belong on there. However, okay, part of this video, I'm going to be reading some comments that people left, and one of them said something about no Ronda Rousey, and initially I was like, Ronda Rousey? How would you put her up there over Amanda Nunes when Amanda Nunes punched her 17 times and retired her? Explain that to me. And then I thought about it, and I was like, well, how would Royce Gracie fare against, like, you know, his corresponding weight class champion now? So, in all honesty, when you're talking about history, Ronda Rousey actually probably does belong up there more than Amanda Nunes, because she is the pioneer. She's the reason there is female mixed martial arts in the UFC. Fact, right? Fact. So if we're talking about like history of the sport, Ronda Rousey actually belongs up there. But I am not going to push back on Amanda Nunes because she's the GOAT, right? She's the GOAT. The other thing too, and I'll talk about this a little bit more when we talk about Jon Jones, is with all these other guys, we already know the end of their book, right? The book is written. Royce Gracie, book written. Chuck Liddell, book written, right? Amanda Nunes, we don't know yet, right? Like, I mean, obviously, you know, she's still active, and it seems very unlikely that she's going to retire with status any less than she has right now. But the book is written on Ronda Rousey. It's over, right? She pioneered female MMA, whatever. Now, this more applies to Jon Jones because he's the one I'm going to push back on. Jon Jones on Mount Rushmore is fucking utterly ludicrous. I mean, just, jeez, me saying that I'm the GOAT on the mic and just not being able to speak English very well, that's utterly ludicrous as well. God, that is not easy to say. Utterly ludicrous. Utterly ludicrous. Utterly ludicrous. That is Jon Jones on UFC Mt Rushmore because he is the most heavily sanctioned USADA athlete in the UFC, as far as I know. Has anybody else taken more juice pops than Jon Jones in the history of the sport, especially modern fighters? How many times has he gotten juice popped? And by the way, feel free to snake that moniker that I gave him, juice pop, because he gets popped for juice a lot, right? I think that since he got popped in the DC fight, the second DC, like before the second DC fight, when it got canceled, I think that he has gotten popped dirty more times than he hasn't. And that was like in 2016 or something like that. I think since 2016, he has had some kind of issue with his drug test more times than he hasn't, okay? He knocked a bunch of guys out. I mean, like, seriously? Jon Jones? He's still an active fighter, okay? If you remove Jon Jones off the roster, then Daniel Cormier goes undefeated at light heavyweight. He cleans out the entire division, moves up to heavyweight, knocks out the greatest heavyweight champion in the history of the sport in the first round, and Daniel Cormier is the GOAT, right? You remove Jon Jones, Daniel Cormier is the greatest fighter of all time without any competition. And he's been popped dirty for juice 8 times. Picograms. And believe me, I get it. I'm not throwing rocks at somebody that's, you know, it's just, we're talking about Mount Rushmore. Like, we're talking about, like, people that are going to be immortalized forever. No, not juice pop. Too many juice pops. How about GSP? That makes a lot more sense, okay? Because when I think about the modern age, like I said, break it into stages. You got, because he's actually in the Chuck Liddell age and the modern age, right? Because he came back in the modern age and won the championship off of Michael Bisping in a weight class one above the one that he cleaned out, where he beat every single fighter at 170 twice, okay? He's the most dominant fighter basically ever. Like, he had run out of challengers so many times. Like, he ultimately kind of lost that last fight at 170, but technically he won, but really he lost. I mean, it's neither here nor there. Bottom line, GSP belongs up there way more than Jon Jones. Way more than Jon Jones. And I must sound like I'm railing on Jon Jones on this channel. The funny thing is, I know Jon Jones wouldn't take it personally, and that when he and I meet, we'll be boys, dude. I will be boys with Jon Jones. I like him. I'm just talking, that should tell you how objective I can be on this channel, right? I can tell you I will be very good buddies with him. We have all the same common interests. Punching people, shooting guns, doing just kind of self-destructive things. I don't like to drive drunk, but that's just because I don't like to get super drunk. But, I guess we can leave that part on the table. We'll still probably be buddies. Either way, ridiculous to have him on Mount Rushmore. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about is Amanda Nunes and when she became the greatest. Okay, so that is when she beat Cyborg. Now, if you guys are new to the sport and don't know who Cyborg is, or kind of know who she is, whatever, let me just paint this picture for you, okay? Cyborg, what anybody who like was an avid fan would tell you about her is basically like, oh, she's a man. Like, she fights like a man. She looks like a man. She is a killing machine. Like, and not just like a man that like a ripped piece of steel man who is somehow female. She had made every person she had ever fought look like they were in 8th grade and she was a professional. Like, there's just no one had ever even come close to beating her. Like, and she hurt these girls. Would just beat them senseless. You know, she's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but she would always stay on her feet and just batter these girls. Batter these girls. And she was at 145. She couldn't make 135. She walks around at like 175, 180 pounds. And Amanda Nunes, who had cleaned out 135, went up to 145 to fight the most dominant female champion in history. And it was like no one picked Amanda Nunes to win this fight. No one. No one. So actually, here's what I would suggest that you do, right? Go watch Cyborg highlights, or go watch like Cyborg best knockouts, right? Watch that. And then after you've basically got a feel for what kind of animal Cyborg is, then go watch Amanda Nunes versus Cyborg. It's not going to take you very long. Go do that. Trust me. And then go, damn, she's a monster. The GOAT. The GOAT. Like me. Anyway, that's what I got today. I apologize. My head hurts so bad. Maybe I'll shoot some stuff later, but this is the best I'm going to do today. It just is. But I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell. Peace.